We don't have any existence. We struggle to exist. Well, we have to think about that. We don't have any existence. We struggle to exist. So we still have existence then, because we struggle to exist. But this existence is conditional. And this existence is ephemeral, short. But then, what actually is existence? The difference between an animal and a human is the animal wants food when it's hungry. The animals become ferocious when it's being attacked. He may not be thinking of tomorrow. He may not be thinking of the value of existence. Why do I exist? Where do I come from? Where am I going after this existence? But the human does. The human thinks. Just as Socrates said, I think, therefore I am. The difference between a human and an animal is this: the human think about the value of existence, how we exist, how we struggle to exist. So are you interested in existence, or you just struggle to exist? When you struggle to exist, then you are mixed with struggling for money, reputation, a marriage, raising a family, getting a job, and then working your way through by all means, sometimes by tricky means. You may be hurting the interests of others and egotizing your own interest. And finally, you're from a hospital, and then you end up in the hospital. You come out of this world naked, and you go away finally without anything at all. So where are your apartments? Where are your houses? Where are your jewelries? What's the value of the struggle that you have struggled? I think we should all learn about existence and not just involved in the struggling, trying to exist. But here, let's answer this question first. My question is, could you please advise on how a meditator should view energy, sensations in the body when meditating? My consistent experience is I feel a tingling in the base of my spine and then energy moving up and down my spine. My inner voice is not fearful. What should I do? Is it my inner voice is not fearful, right? My inner voice is not fearful. That means you're not fearful at all, but you have that kind of experience, a tingling experience in your spine, and that seems to be energy sensations going around the body. Sometimes people call this energy sensation qi. This a qi would going through from the crown of my head to the Dhyana part, going in a circle, sometimes it's going clockwise and sometimes it's anti-clockwise. It's going that, and sometimes the energy could be following the moving, but it itself has a spine of its own, had its own axis. So in other words, it's axis within axis, windmill within a windmill, and this windmill is always turning and turning and turning and turning, and that's the windmill of your life, of our life. And everybody has qi, everybody has that energy. But that energy cannot be seen. Nobody can see energy, we can only feel energy. And some people call the energy when you die is in the form of a soul going out of your body. I mean, there's all kinds of explanations about the energy. Anyway, if you have energy sensation, that's normal. And only for those who are conscious of his own energy will feel the energy. Only for those who are conscious of his own emotions can change emotion. If you're not even conscious, your emotion exists, you don't even know your emotion exists, how can you change it? If you're not conscious of yourself being jealous, being greedy, being sensuous, being fearful, you're not on your way to knowing it. So your faculty of knowing has established that you know the sensation. You know what is happening inside. And some people don't even know. They have their energy. They don't even know about it. So how good is it to know the energy? Well, knowing the energy is you know that your body, feeling, your physical, and your mentality has an interaction. It is not independent of each other. They are dependent on each other. And your psyche will affect your physical. In other words, your spiritual will affect your physical. And now your psyche is very conscious of your physical, which is a good thing. But then, this energy is something that the Buddha told us a lot about this, and yet it has to be proven. It has to be proven by the scientists. This energy is going through transformation. This energy is not constant. This energy is changing all the time. And this energy sometimes is being polluted by wholesome thinking, unwholesome thinking, and neutral thinking. And how does it work? Say, they say that many people who are doing meditation say that, or even in some sutras, that the more you are in meditation, the more you're conscious of yourself, the more you feel up with this energy. And if this energy is always trying to clear up all this, the whole body for you without you knowing it. So first of all, this energy is a good thing because it cleared up whatever blockages in you, this kind of energy. But sometimes when they go to blockages, they have to break through it. So there's sometimes an energy will come to a place, for example, you have muscle pain in here, it may be more painful because your energy is rushing through it. So actually, your energy is actually helping you without you knowing it, but it has to work through all those blockages. Now we're talking about the physical blockages, but then you also have mental blockages too. Physical blockages is more or less easier to clear because it's just about the body, the present body. But mental blockages relates to previous lives. So in other words, some of the energy, not some of the energy, means more parts of the energy is being brought forward from previous life into this life in the form of energy. So imagine if you are transferring all these chips from a disk drive, and this chip is just a mini thing, but it has stored thousands of years in it, and it gets in your energy, get all the storage. And when you're meditating, you have an intention to strive for enlightenment, purity of mind, peacefulness of mind. You're actually in the process of transforming your energy by clearing out pollutants. So if you have jealousy before, you have jealousy, hatred, fear, all those mental afflictions that you have, you actually brought forward into this life in the process of meditating, because then now you know your energy in clearing it. When you are clearing it, it's not, sometimes it may not be a wonderful feeling. Sometimes it's a wonderful feeling, sometimes it may not be. And many people put different terms and put different names to explain this. And some of these people call it Kundalini awakening too. And when you get deep into cleaning up your garbage in your immeasurable, imagine everybody has an immeasurable garbage tank in which they have garbage to clean up. And this garbage is immeasurable because it's been brought forward by previous lives too. Your jealousy, your hatred, your arrogance, your anxiety, your fear, your depression, your whatever you can think of, they're all stored in that garbage tank. And if you're getting more and more spiritual, you're actually opening up the gate of the garbage tank and trying to clean it up. And sometimes you open the gate and you're overwhelmed by this garbage. You're getting more depressed. You're getting more anger. Because it's cleaning up. It's a cleaning transformation. So that's the reason why we have to go through Kundalini awakening. Is you may have to go through it for years. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 4 years. But you're actually cleaning up your old garbage. But if once Kundalini awakening has been awakened, you really have to know how to deal with it. Because some people may be going through a very traumatic life. Some people may, because you have to clean up old garbage. You may not be able to stand it. You're so overwhelmed by hatred from previous life, by jealousy, by all this, you feel miserable. But if you say, there are many studies that describe this kind of feelings. For example, there was a lady by the name Bonnie Greenwell. She was a PhD in psychology, and she went through actually this kind of chi and linear awakening and meditation, and she went through in a blissful way, more blissful than the others, very blissful way, whereas some people went through it in terrible ways, traumatic ways. Many sleepless nights, months of sleepless nights, lost his job, mind disoriented, social life is all destroyed. But then after a few years, 15, 10 years, when you look back, I appreciate what I have gone through. I clean up all this garbage. I'm a different man. I'm more happy. I see things differently now because he cleaned up his garbage. So there's always hurdles that you have to go through. Getting to the path of enlightenment and purification, you have to go through storms. Sometimes it could be very stormy. But to some people it's blissful. Some people they could encounter very little trauma and more bliss. So it's actually in between the two extremes, a lot of in between. So good to refer to, say, Bonnie Greenwell, Kundalini awakening guy. She went through blissful circumstances, and she studied 3,000 cases of people who have energy sensations. They call it Kundalini awakening. The Buddha called it in a different name. Just problems in meditation that you have to watch out. Particularly for those who do not observe precepts and get into meditation. In other words, certain practitioner, she's still involved with relationships all the time, eating, drinking, partying, all that. She's all polluted with the present karma. How could he be cleaning out previous life's karma? So that's the reason why when we just talk about in meditation, the first thing to do is observance of moral precepts. That's the number one external factor that you have to go through. You cannot, on the one hand, you're meditating for purity. On the other hand, you always mix up with relationship with boyfriends, girlfriends, eating, drinking, you're contradicting. You're morally inept for cleaning up. You're adding on garbage to it. You're polluting not in the garbage tank. You're polluting all the peripheral without even getting into the garbage tank. So you cannot achieve it. So you have to first of all have to have a high morality standard. Sometimes if you don't have a high morality standard, you could go astray. You could be leading into terrible situations. So that's the reason why the Buddha, remember 2,600 years ago, the Buddha one day said that in your present lifetime that you have to clean away the garbage in order to get enlightenment is extremely difficult because you didn't have enough time to do that. In our present one life, in order to clean up the whole immeasurable garbage tank garbage, because one cannot attain Buddhahood or enlightenment or nirvana without cleaning up your old karma. But imagine how much is your old karma. The garbage tank is immeasurable. So the Buddha already predicted it. He said that more and more in the later generations, sentient beings have no time for practice. Imagine how much time you spend on practicing. You have a family, you have a job, you have responsibilities, you have to make money, and you are involved with all different activities. You're only meditating for 15 minutes per day, and you're talking about being a Buddha? Talking about enlightenment, purification, by spending only 15 minutes on meditation, or even half an hour meditation, and the rest go partying, and you become a Buddha? No. It's a cleaning. The Buddhahood is a cleaning and transformation process of your previous old karma. Being a monk is easier. You're not involved with anything else except cleaning up, except spiritual transformation. So there's so many things that you have to watch out for. That's the reason why the Buddha said 2,600 years ago, he said, it's extremely difficult to be a Buddha in one's lifetime because you don't have enough time to practice. So you have to immigrate to a place where there's no more reincarnation first. And some people call that the heaven. It's a name that many religions give it a different name. Some people call it heaven, some people call it the land of bliss. They call it whatever you want to call it. It's just you want to go to a place where you're not subject to samsara, life and death anymore. Because if you're subject to reincarnation, this life you are Mr. A, next life you're Mr. B. This life you did something like this, which carry you into the next life, you did something even worse. You're always in a cycle of reincarnation of life and death. One life you could be an animal even, and the other life you could be suffering in inferno. So you're always subject to reincarnation. The first is to get out of hell, to give you an analogy, to get out of the inferno of this world first. Get out from jail first. Get out from jail, you have the freedom to practice. Now you're in jail, you don't even know. We're all in jail. We're in the jail of this karmic bondage. We're all in jail. We may not know about it. We're all in jail. The jail of our own emotions, the jail of our own karmic energy that binds us. That's why we're suffering. That's why we always have a life and death. We have a beginning of birth and we have the ending of death, and in between, no exception, aging and sickness. It's not pessimistic. People say, it's pessimistic. You're always thinking of life. Every time when I talk about, when you talk about Buddhism, it's aging, life, aging and death and sickness and terrible, terrible. That's a fact of life. We cannot just avoid this and going partying because we all have to die. We have to die one day, not just that, we'll be aging. We'll be sick. Everything is changing. So the Buddha said, immigrate to that place where there's no more reincarnation. And that place is in the Pure Land. And that's the reason why, and that Pure Land, you need to connect with that Pure Land, just as you need a telephone number to connect a certain location. You have to dial up. You have to connect your frequency. You imagine the magic of frequency. There's a frequency for your soul too, a frequency for your energy, a frequency for your consciousness. You know that there's a frequency to contact another person, but you don't know, but may not know that there's also a frequency to connect yourself with that place where there's no reincarnation after death. But you need conditions. There's certain conditions. Everybody has to die anyway. Why don't we, after this life, no more suffering, to go to that place where there's no more suffering? You're not Buddha yet, but in that place you have to learn to be a Buddha. So how do we get there? We have to connect our frequency with that. Just as you connect your Fido, your Rogers, whatever you wanted, with that frequency, with that phone number. It's all in the sutras, how you connect the frequency. It's just like you have to go to a Fido shop to get on the line. It's a very simple analogy. You think you can just take your phone and you can call anybody? You have to hook it up. You have to pair with that channel. You have to pair with that channel of infinity, that channel of eternity. It's all in your hand. Remember William Blake? Infinity in your hand and eternity in an hour. The infinity and the eternity is in nobody's hand, in your own hand. To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wildflower. Eternity in the palm of your hand, and infinity in an hour. It's all in your hands. But are you willing to do it? Nobody can do it. I can do it for you in Fido on your phone, but I can't do it for you to go to the Pure Land. You have to read the sutra to find out what are the conditions for it that I can go there. You will be studying conditions for Fido and Rogers, but you're not studying conditions for going to the Pure Land after death. Who cares about death? Nobody cares. When it comes, it just comes. But should we all be cared about death? The Buddha cared about not only his own death, he cares about the death of all sentient beings so that they don't have to die again. Because he found that heaven, people call it heaven, he found that land of bliss. It's all in Amitabha Sutra. It's all in the Contemplation Sutra. Sensations is not bad, but you really have to watch out for it. The only thing that you should worry, if you open that door, I don't know if you are ready for the trauma that you have to go through, just as in some people's Kundalini awakening. So sometimes you see, in ancient days, all those experienced meditators, it seems to me that they didn't want to mention too much about those problems because they don't want to scare people away. Because if they tell you all these hurdles that you have to go through after you have taken the first step, nobody would do it. Because they think that if you can take that first step, you will automatically be jumping over those hurdles. But there are books who mention a little bit about it. They don't want to give you all that negative so that they scare you away. But I think it's fair to say that you need to know something about it because you don't want to run into problems. Because nowadays it's difficult to get a good teacher. If you run into that kind of problem, you have no teachers to go for, then you're done for. You don't know what to do. But if you really know how to do it, they all say, all those who experience this, they say you'll be coming out smelling like roses in your enlightenment if you overcome them. They all say that this kind of experience are valuable, even though I suffer from it. I suffer for 15 years, 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, but it's worth it. Get to read that book. Or if you want to go through to see how people go through difficult times, not blissful times, you get into some of those talk by Craig Holiday, C-R-A-I-G, Holiday. And he gave a lot of traumatic experiences that he experienced. Again, on the YouTube, he actually talked about it. And it was terrible that he went through. He couldn't sleep for many months. He lost his job because he couldn't perform his duties. And but he finally said, when I recall back, it's valuable experience that I've gone through. Even though it's traumatic, it's terrible when I was going through it, but it's worth it, he says. A lot of people say it's worth it even though I've gone through it in pain. Some people even have physical pain, psychological pain, but they say it's worth it. Read those two experiences. They didn't call them Buddhists, but what they talk about is Buddhism.